This is going to be on Tzeidah Satzvi. As we said, the animal shear is not specifically about a type of animal, it's about a concept. So, the halachas of the dinim of hunting and all that. So, we're going to talk about hunting itself, two things. We're going to talk about famous hunters that are mentioned in Torah, some of them famous, some not so famous. And then reasons why it's forbidden. Now I'm saying forbidden because you ask a regular Jew, is hunting permitted? What's it called? The knee-jerk reaction is that it's forbidden. What we're going to discuss and see is that indeed so or not. We're going to get to that in Mirz Hashem, reasons why it's also, and maybe maybe it could be permitted as we go through. Now first we're going to talk about famous hunters or trappers in the Torah. Anybody knows who is the first person that's mentioned as a trapper? Esav, Nimrod. Who was before that? Before that kind, we don't know him as a hunter. It's possible there were hunters we don't know about. Lamech. Lamech is the first one. Talk about that in a minute. The second one is Nimrod, and then goes Esav. These are all what we call the bad people. Then there's a few good people that are hunters that are maybe not so famous, not in Tanakh, but in Gemara we have a story about David HaMelech hunting and a story about Yonah bar Tachlifa. So Eli, you already have two people to follow. David HaMelech bar Tachlifa. We'll go through the details. So let's first go through these five people. What's mentioned, then we'll get to the halacha part about it and the discussion. Lemech. Where do we find Lemech hunting in Torah? So there's what Rashi says in Chumash, when Lemech tells his wives, Ada v'tzila shman koidi neshe Lemech hazeina imbrasi, ki isha rakti lefitzi v'yad lechavras. He tells them, I killed a man and I killed a child. What's the story? Shayu perishes himenu v'tashmish. His wives didn't want to be with him. The v'shahara ges Kain was tuval Kain b'nei, because he killed Cain, who was his ancestor, great-great-grandfather, 6 times, or 7 times, whatever you say it, 7 generations before him, and he also killed his own son, Tuval Cain. How did that happen? So Rashi says the story, not the way most of us know the story. Rashi says a slight differently. Rashi says, Lemech Suma, Lemech was blind, but Tuval Cain, his son Moshe, was walking with him. According to Rashi, they were apparently just going for a walk. Veras Cain. And then Tuval Cain saw his great-grandfather, again, 8 generations back, he saw his great-grandfather Cain. He thought it was an animal. He told his father, shoot. His father had an arrow, he shot. So this is fascinating to me, that a blind man can hit a moving target. I don't maybe it wasn't moving, but even a straight target. How can a blind man hit anything? I don't understand. It's beyond me. It must be because of the curse that Hashem had cursed Cain to be killed after 7 generations. And the story continues even stranger. The caveman Shayodashu Cain's Kane, once you knew that it's his grandfather Cain, he called Kaf al Kaf, he put his hands together, he slapped his hands together. The Sofak is B'nai B'neim, and he crushed his son between them. Vaharogoy, and he killed the son. And that's why Anisha Parishas Himenu, Mephaison, his wife, stay away, you're a murderer, he killed him, they don't want to be with him. According to the way it says in Rashi, he was not going hunting, he was just going out, he happened to have a bow and arrow with him. Why? It doesn't say why. It makes sense that Rashi, the Medrash will say in a moment, but Rashi does not clearly say that he was going hunting. However, Medrash Tanchuma, it does have more details about hunting. Medrash Tanchuma said, Keitzad Nerag, how was Cain killed? Cain nasa malach hamoves. I'm not sure what these words in the Medrash mean, but it says he was meo shleishim shana v'unav not baklolo. That he, for 130 years, he was a vagabond. He was walking around from place to place, and because of the curse that Hashem had cursed Cain after Cain had killed Hevel. How he was killed was Lemech ben b'nai hayeshvi ladelis v'suma hayayetzei latzud. So Lamech, his descendant for 7 times, 7 generations, went out to hunt. So here the Medrash clearly says hunting. Now Barbanel says either he was hunting for fun or he was hunting for parnasa, for maybe for clothing, for food. But he clearly says he was going hunting, which this is fascinating that a blind man would want to go hunting. Then he says the story, his son was holding his hand, when he saw a tinoi chaya, which would seem to be a young child, but he saw, I said, I think I see some animal over there, and Mosach has a keshes kenegdoi, so Lemech turned to shot the arrow, so Tuval Cain saw him from far, he saw him with his arrow in his head. Amar Lemech, he told Lemech, Avi had mus aram harug, looks like we killed a human. The keren b'mitzvah seems like a keren, like a horn. which would be in his head. That's the keren that he had it either the arrow or something else that Hashem did to him. And Amar Lamech said, "Vai lis keinihu." It's my, what did I do? Tafach shteyada v'charata. He slapped his hands together. V'noga b'reish hatinik v'arogi b'shoigik. He killed him by mistake. As the pasuk concludes, Ki ish harakti v'pitzi v'yad lachaburos. So this is the story in the Medrash and Chuma. This is the first hunter that we see. Now, if he was hunting when he was blind, there must have been a sport. There must have been things that people were doing at the time. But he's the first one that's mentioned. Second one that's mentioned is Nimrod Giber Tzai Lifnei Hashem. The pasuk says he was a Giber Tzai. Rashi says Giber Tzai, he wasn't hunting, he was making people go against Hashem. However, the Medrash does say that. The Medrash says, Rabbi Chanina Omer, Perkei Rabbi Elazar says, Nimrod Giber Koyach Hoya, he was a powerful warrior. Shenamar V'kush Yolad Simrod, a warrior of the pashtus, not just for people, but animals as well, but Lav Dafka, the first opinion. But then Rabbi Yehuda says, Hakutoines she'asa Kadosh Baruch Hu la'adam le'ishtoi v'haisa imam b'teva. The special clothes that Hashem made for Adam and Chava, they had it passed down to 10 generations to Noach and the Teva. Uksheyatzu min haTeva lakacha Cham ben Noach. This is Perkei Rabbi Elazar. The Medrash saying Cham, the son of Noach, took those clothes. Veitzia imay v'inchila leNimrod, gave it to his grandson Nimrod, his great grandson. Ub'shay shayalei v'shaysa. When Nimrod wore those clothes, hayu kol behema v'chaya v'oif boim v'neifim lefanov. All the animals came and fell in front of him. Now the Medrash says it as is. There are pirushim that the clothing had the pictures of other animals or the scent of other animals, and that's why it attracted them. The point is that he would use these clothes to hunt. People thought, they didn't realize it's because of the clothes that he had. People thought it's because he's so powerful. They made him into a king. So this is where the Medrash describes Nimrod as a hunter, hunting animals, and he did it seemingly as a way to show his power, and this way he became a king. That's about Nimrod. About Esav, it says about Esav, he Esav Ish Yedei Atzayid. So it said he was a Ish Yedei, as I'm saying, Ish Yedei Atzayid, Ish Yedei. So he knew how to hunt. So the pasuk clearly describes Esav as a hunter. And Ishad, as the pasuk continues. So there's an interesting medrash about Esav. The medrash says, Rabbi Omer, Esav achiv shal Yaakov v'ras hakutoinus. Shas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Adam v'Chava al Nimrod. Esav saw this clothes that Nimrod had that was for Adam and Chava. V'chamad Esav b'liboy v'harogay v'lokach Esav imanu. He really wanted them, so he killed Nimrod and he took those clothes for hunting. This is the medrash. Rabbi Elazar says it very bekitzer. However, it's brought down in more details in other mefarshim. It says like this. This is the day that Esau came and brought the lentil soup from Yaakov, that whole story. So it says, that day he killed Nimrod. And now Rashi tells us, it's not Rashi, so I think that's getting about the Atoysus. It's one of the Mefarshim. That brings up what happened over here is, Ki kasher hischil Esav lotzu batzada, when Esav went out to hunt, Mitzoi Nimrod, Shoyagibir, so Nimrod found him, V'amar loi, she'ein shum adam Rashi lotzu besadis elohu. This is basically, we have till today, in hunting season, you have to have a special permit to hunt. There's places where you can hunt, there's territories where you can hunt, and we'll talk about the halacha, but you see already then, Nimrod had this rule, I'm the only one that has rights to hunting grounds over here, no one else can hunt over here, you cannot hunt. So he told Esau, get out of here, this is my territory. So when they decided we're going to have a shootout, we're going to have a shootout, Esau said, I want to hunt, and apparently there was an argument, and they said, let's have a shootout, and let's see who's going to win. So Esau and not Yaakov, Esau come to his brother, Yaakov, hey Yaakov, have any ideas for me? This guy who wants to have a shootout, I think I can take him down, but any aces. So Yaakov tells his brother Esau, if he's wearing those clothes, there's nobody can win. Tell him, I want to have a shootout, but let's make it fair. I know that you have special powers with those clothes. Let's see if you can take me on one-on-one without those special clothes. Nimrod obviously looked at the challenge. For sure, I'm stronger than you. I can take you down. And Nimrod agreed to it. And the Cain also, but Esau was better. Nimrod. So Esau knocked out Nimrod, and he became now the chief hunter, the chief trapper, the one that was the best out there. Now this is about Esau hunting, killing Nimrod, but as we mentioned, Yisayid, and also later we know that Yitzchak told him to go hunt for him, so obviously Esau was a hunter. He was able to hunt, and apparently, I'm sure the clothing that he took from Nimrod helped him out later on in life as well. Just to point out, I did not put Yishmael, even though Yishmael was also a Revek Hashos, but by Yishmael, it only says he was killing people. And so the Muslims, until today, they do this with the Torah. But Esau, we see, was hunting clothes as well. What's the story about David HaMelech? David HaMelech is a long, long story in the Gemara, connected to other things as well, a whole ganze Maisa where Hashem said, I'm going to punish you, what do you want to choose? A whole thing, but all the details of the story are too long to put in over here. The point is that Hashem told him, you're going to basically be in danger from the enemy, and David, and this the Gemara says the story, what happened. What happened was, Yom Echad Nofak Lishcher Bazoi. He went to go hunting with a bird. He had a bird of prey, and basically the way it works like most hunters is they shoot, and then the bird goes and shows them where it is, because a lot of them shoot an arrow, shoot something from far, and then you don't know where it lands or where it is, so the bird helps you find it. So the Gemara says, David went to hunt together with a bird, and Asa Satan, V'idmalei Ketavya. The Satan came and appeared as a deer. Pasak Begira, so David shot an arrow at him, and he didn't reach him. Mashche, and he kept running after the deer, and the deer followed, schlepped him. Till he caused David to fall in the land, to arrive in the Plishtim. And the Gemara continues afterwards, where the Plishtim ended up fighting with David, the whole story. The point that I wanted to say from the story is we see David went hunting. So clearly David HaMelech went hunting with a bird, not stam hunting, so obviously it can't be too bad, as we will discuss later. The Gemara continues. I said same thing with him before. Same Gemara, no way it's twice. Next one is Yena Bar Tachlifa. Who is this Yena Bar Tachlifa? Unknown person. There's a Gemara in Chulin. The Gemara says, Rava have a body klegira le Rabbi Yena Bar Tachlifa. Rava, when Yena Bar Tachlifa would go hunting, he would bring his arrow to Rava, and Rava would check the arrow to make sure that the arrow was a kosher chalif, as kosher as a for shechting. V'shachat be'oifa bahadi de parach. And this Yena Bar Tachlifa was such a good marksman, he was able to shoot the arrow, and he was able to shecht in the exact right spot as the bird was flying in the air. He shechted him in the exact right spot, a kosher shchit. The Gemara asks, the dilma avid chaloda. Chaloda means when the knife, or in this case the arrow, would go in between the simonim. In that case, it can be a kosher shchita. So the Gemara says, chazin and gitvi the meparmi. They saw the way the feathers of the bird were, that it was obvious that it went only on the outside, and it was a kosher shchita. So this is another hunter, another person that Rav allowed him to hunt. You see clearly they were Yidden from a Yidden hunting, is seemingly with the encouragement of the Rabbanim of Rav doing it as well. Just to point out that based on this Gemara of Yena Bar Tachlifa, the Mefarshim say that when Yitzchak told Esav, Yitzchak tells Esav, go and take your tools, your hunting tools, and go bring me some food. So Rashi says, Loshen Hashchaza, he told him that go and sharpen your knife. So according to Rashi, the pshat would be, he told him, go trap a deer and then shecht it with your knife. So some of Harshim say, no, if Yena Bar Tachlifa was a good marksman, well, Esav, that the Torah itself testifies, Esav was an issue day outside, he definitely was a better marksman than Yena Bar Tachlifa. And so what the Mefarshim want to say is that Yitzchak told Esav, sharpen your arrow and shech just the same way he shechted. Now, according to this, it had to be a different type of arrow, because it's shechting a deer. A deer has a bigger neck than a bird. It had to be a longer arrow, or it's the blade part of the arrow, the sharp part of the arrow had to be longer, but that's what Mefarshim want to say. That's how Esav went and he shechted also the same way. So this is just a very quick overview of some of the main hunters that are mentioned in Tanakh and the Gemara. Now, when it comes to hunting, so again, ask a regular Yid. I remember talking to somebody once, and he told me that he was talking to a friend of his about hunting, and the guy said, "What's the problem?" So he said, "Would the Rambam go hunting?" No. Why not? It's a passage. So it's clear that it's not the right thing. But what are the reasons? So there's 10 potential reasons. We're going to go through it now. On the subject of hunting, there's a famous tshuva of the Noida B'Yehuda, which we'll talk about in a bit. He brings a lot of these reasons. He actually says most of the reasons do not apply. But then there's an Italian rabbi. What? There was an Italian rabbi that lived before the Noida B'Yehuda, times a little bit before, Yitzchak Lapardoni, I will see his name soon, I forgot how to pronounce it, and he actually says it's usur. So a lot of the things are discussed in these two chuvas and other places as well. A lot of people discuss these 10 potential issues, and we'll go through them. The first potential issue people say is tzar balechai. You're causing tzar to the animal, and that would be a reason to make it usur. So to point out, and this is when I learned the sugya, so I think that they're talking about different types of hunting. There's many types of hunting. First of all, you could be hunting kosher animals or non-kosher animals. It's obviously we'll see it's very different what you're hunting. Secondly, are you hunting to kill, or are you hunting to wound, to maim, and then to trap them? That could be very different. So tzar balachaim, if you're hunting to kill, the question is that considered tzar balachaim? So this is a big shaila. Is killing an animal considered tzar balachaim, or only causing the animal harm considered tzar balachaim? So the Noda Yehuda, when he was asked about the question about hunting, so someone told him it's obviously a problem because it's tzar balachaim. The Noda Yehuda says hunting is not a problem of tzar balachaim. Why not? He brings a Gemara in Chulin. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yor has a whole story with Rabbi over there. Again, I'm just taking the part that's nagia to this conversation. So Rabbi Pinchas ben Yor came to visit Rabbi. He came in Isrami al bahu pischa da bekaimim beikudnaisa chivarta. He came into the entrance to Rabbi's house, and by the entrance there were white mules. Omar, so Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair said, Malach hamovis bebeisi, shows that you have the angel of death in your house, because the mules, white mules, were known to be very dangerous. They could bite people, they would cause death to people. And he said, I'm going to eat in your house, you're a bad person, I can't have you come into your house. So Rebbe right away tried convincing him. Rebbe heard that he's not coming in. Nafak Lavik him out. I'll sell it. I want to have this chus to host you. That's the whole story at the beginning of the Gemara. I want to have this chus to host you. Please come into my house. Amar Lei, so Rebbe Pinchas ben Yair told him, what do you mean sell it? Who are you going to sell it to? Another person. He's going to have the Aveda. You can't have these white mules around. So he said, Mafkarnalu, I'll make it hefker. I won't sell it to anybody. So Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair says, "Mafash If it'll be hefker, it'll be even worse. Now at least it's contained in one area. But if you let it hefker, it'll go loose. It'll cause more damage." So he said, "Akarnaluhu, I'll break their legs so they won't be able to go and hurt people." So Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair told him, "Ika tzar balachai, you can't do tzar balachai." So Rabbi said, "Kateilnalu, I'll kill them." So Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair told him, "Ika baltashris, you're destroying something." Says the Noda Yehuda, what do you see from this conversation? That after Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair told him that you should not break their legs because it's tzar balachaim, so Rabbi said, okay, so I won't do tzar balachaim, I'll just kill them. Oh, what does that mean? So says the Noda Yehuda, you see that killing is not tzar balachaim. Killing is a different problem about tashlis. Because after Rabbi said, I'm going to break their legs, and Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair told him that's tzar balachaim, he said, fine, so I'll do something which is not tzar balachaim, which is just killing. And Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair accepted that. He just said there's a problem about tashlis. So we see from here that killing is not a problem of tzar balachaim, but tashlis is an issue. We'll get to that in a moment. But tzar balachaim, says the Noda Yehuda, is not an issue. Going hunting to kill, there's no problem of tzar balachaim. The Alter Rebbe has halachas of tzar balachaim. The Alter Rebbe writes it's forbidden to be mitzar kol balachaim b'yadayim. Now the Alter Rebbe says the only time you're allowed to cause tzar to an animal is the imei mitzarim la'odam. If they cause you pain, azay mutar afilu laharga, then you're allowed even to kill them. Some people want to touch the Alter Rebbe's words to say that the Alter Rebbe is saying killing is considered tzar balachai. It just we allow you to kill them because if they're doing the tzar of a person. But you can learn the Alter Rebbe is saying two things. The Alter Rebbe says you're allowed to be mitzar the balchayim if he's being mitzar of a person, and not only could you do tzar balachayim, you could even kill the animal as well. But that it could be the Alter Rebbe accepts the Noda Yehuda as well, that the Alter Rebbe says that there is there's no tzar balachayim. So basically, the Noda Yehuda clearly says killing is not tzar balachayim. The Alter Rebbe, you can argue both ways. Other poskim do say it's a problem of tzar balachayim. But the Noda Yehuda says very strongly, the Gemara that we just said, that he said it's not a problem of tzar balachayim. The next potential issue is baltashchis. Baltashchis is to destroy something which has benefits. So l'chayra, this is an issue that you should not just kill animals because there's no benefit from it. You're just destroying something of Hashem's word. So this is the rabbi I mentioned before, Rabbi Yitzchak Lamperonti. He was a rabbi in Italy, and he writes that this is a problem. He writes, he also says tzar balachayim, but he says this is baltashchis. This is forbidden. The Noda Yehuda says there's no baltashchis. You can take the leather, you can take the skins of the animals and use them. So says the Noda Yehuda, baltashchis means you're destroying it completely, but here you're not destroying it. You're killing the animal and you're taking its leather, its fur, whatever you want to do with it. And if that's the case, it's not considered baltashchis. He also says it's not derech hashchasa. Hashchasa means destroying for the sake of destruction. Here I'm doing it either for pleasure, I'm doing it for fun, I'm doing it in a way that I'm enjoying it, and that's not considered baltashchis. Thirdly, he says, baltashchis, even though it's midrabanan, it's based off the pasuk in Torah which says you can't chop down a tree. And he says that whatever chachamim make a takana, they make it similar to the midaraisa. And he says, therefore, just like a tree that bears fruit, only the fruit that you could potentially enjoy is the Isra baltashchis. Says the Noda Yehuda, something which is no one can enjoy it. You're going into the wild, you're hunting wild animals, you can't enjoy it anyway. So here there's no Isser about Tashchis. This is a huge Chiddush of the Yehuda, but Tashchis doesn't apply to random stuff. He says, even Hefker, something that's Hefker that potentially someone can get, in that case, there's an Isser about Tashchis. But going to the wild, a random deer that's in the wild, no one has enough from that deer. A random, any other animal they want to go hunt, no one's having enough from it, says the Yehuda, no problem about Tashchis. The Yehuda says, again, no Tar Bal Chaim problem, no about Tashchis problem. Another conversation which only applies to kosher animals is it forbidden lasis nevela b'yadayim. A lot of bachim want to learn shchita. One of the problems with learning shchita is that when you're trying to shech the chickens for the first time, you're probably making them treif. But in a shaila, are you allowed to make a kosher animal treif purposely? You're taking a chicken and shechting it wrong. That's a problem. Halachically, it's a big discussion. But here's the same thing. You're going to kill the animal. If you're killing the non-kosher animals, it's no shaila. This is not a shaila. But killing a kosher animal, a deer is kosher, killing it would be considered lasis nevela b'yadayim. You're making the nevela purposely. So is that permitted, or is that a problem or not? So Shulchan Aruch Yeredeya talks about another subject we'll talk about soon, about the Scheda B'dvarim Asurim. He says, if someone is nizdamen nevela, utreifa b'beisa, if somebody happens to have an nevela, a nevela, meaning somehow he's trapping and he ends up getting a dead deer or a dead, or whatever. The treif is different type of nevela. So the Shach on the subject says, Asur lincher tiyashim shetarich la'oire shalom limker achakach habasim kichavim demikri mechavim belachte bedavre yisur. The Shach says it's forbidden to kill a goat or a deer in order to remove their skins, even though there's all discussion that they basically, when they would shecht, the skins wouldn't come out the same way. They would kill it in a different method, and then they were able to skin the animal completely, and this way they were able to make money off the skin of the animal. So he says it's forbidden to do so, and then sell the flesh to David Goy, because this is you're purposely getting involved in dealing with the non-kosher food. However, some learn the Shach, that the Shach is focusing on the Isser of purposely killing a taish, which is a kosher animal, a kosher goat. So some say that according to the Shach, it's forbidden to do so, to kill an animal. However, the Taz says, neitherly the heter gomer, who this is completely mutar to kill an animal however you want it, even though it's not shechting, because the yesh le hanoah mizeh. You're having hanoah. Since you can sell the skin better when you don't shecht, you kill it differently, it's completely permitted. So according to the Taz, if you're hunting and you have hanoah from it, we'll talk about hanoah, either you're going to sell the meat to a goy, you're going to use the skin for something, you want to make a head of a sheep on top of a deer on top of your fireplace, something like that. According to the Taz, there's no problem of killing a kosher animal, not through shchit. Another question is chayra b'dvarim asurim, which is the same subject we said a moment ago. Are you allowed to do business with something which is forbidden? Halachically, you're not allowed to go into industry which is not kosher. You cannot go sell not kosher food, buy not kosher food. That is forbidden. So regarding hunting over here, the Shulchan Aruch says, if a person goes trapping, goes hunting, and it happens to be that he ends up getting a non-kosher animal, mutar l'machram, you're allowed to sell it. So meaning that if you're trying to trap or hunt kosher animals, and you end up by mistake killing a non-kosher animal, so in that case it's mutar, as long as shelo yiskaven l'kach. That's the key. Shelo yiskaven. You can't have in mind to go and shoot the bear. You have to have in mind to go get the kosher animal. Now, this has to be either you're like Esav, that you can shoot and kill in such a way, or there's a discussion, I didn't bring this in the Gemara, discusses if you shoot it in the leg, then even though it's wounded, but it's not treif, and then you can catch it, and then you can shech. So as long as you're not having in mind to kill to deal with the non-kosher animals, it's permitted. But this is talking about someone that wants to make schayr. Now, people that go hunting today are not doing it for business purposes. Business purposes, they're not going to go when they want to get the skin of a bear. It's more for fun, for pleasure, for themselves. It's not schayr. So memela, this whole conversation of schayr b'dvarim asurim would not apply to most people that are discussing hunting. Another thing is brought down about a Moishav Leitzim. Moishav Leitzim is when sitting around amongst clouds, basically people that are wasting their time. So there's actually Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch on this. Alter Rebbe says, Af b'choil osur lotzud b'klovim. Alter Rebbe seems to be saying it's forbidden to hunt with dogs. Mishum Moishav Leitzim. Alter Rebbe says harsh words. Ve'enei zoicha lireis b'simchas livyosim. Alter Rebbe says that whoever's involved in hunting is not going to be zoicha the asud lavei to the simcha of the livyosim. Now, Alter Rebbe doesn't say because all the reasons that we said before about Tashkis, about Tzar Balachayim. The Alter Rebbe seems to be saying that the people that go hunting with dogs are usually the wild people, the people that are leitzim, and hanging out with them is a problem. So the Alter Rebbe seems to be saying that it's not so much what you're doing, it's who you're doing it with. So in theory, if you're doing it yourself, or you're doing it with another Siddish, find the Siddish who wants to go hunting with you, because their head. But if you're doing it yourself and there's no problem of Meishav Leitzin, the Alter Rebbe is very vague over here. It's very unclear what's the reason why he says it's also. He says Meishav Leitzin. So you might get around it by saying you're doing it yourself, or you might be able to say that I'm doing it not with going with bad people, just with other from people. That might be a smarter thing that is permitted. But what? Oh, another thing. Now the Rebbe seems to be saying specifically with dogs, meaning that's a certain way of doing it. People go with hunting dogs. Without a hunting dog, now the Rebbe doesn't say anything. You can argue that without dogs, it's not a problem at all, according to the Alter Rebbe. This is in Hilchos Shabbos, yeah. That's in Hilchos Shabbos, Alter Rebbe talks about. Next thing is this is a svara that the Rabbi Yitzchak Lambertoni I mentioned before. He says that the problem of hunting. He's the one that says it's usher. He says the problem is because you're going in the ways of the goy. However, if I'm not mistaken, the Noda B'Yehuda says that only applies. We had this in the shir of the Turkey and the Thanksgiving. We mentioned this already. The Isra b'Chokeiseim only applies things that don't make sense or the Shum Pritzus. But a person's going hunting, it doesn't make sense. He enjoys it. It's not pritzus, it's not a problem. And therefore, the pashas, this, even though the Pachad Yitzchak, that's the name of a sefer, he says it's forbidden, but the pashas, according to the Shulchan Aruch, the way we paskin, this would not be a concern about going in the goyish ways, even though most people, this is one of the first things I'll tell you, it's just a goyish thing to do. So it's true, it's a goyish thing to do, but in halacha that doesn't carry weight. That's because it's goyish. If it's not without reason, or if it's not pritzusdik, then it's not considered a goyish thing to do. That is forbidden according to halacha. And next svara brought down on the Paiskim, again, this is the Pachad Yitzchak says it, Antoni says it's a problem of achzorius. It's considered cruelty just to go out and kill animals for no reason. So here, if I'm not mistaken, the Noda B'Yehuda again says it doesn't make sense. He says because the halacha is that when it comes to tzar balachayim, when it comes to the need of a person, there's no problem of tzar balachayim, and he says you're allowed to pull feathers from geese that are alive, even though it's very painful for the goose when you're pulling out its feathers. If you have no other feathers, because the person needs it. He says, people don't do it because of cruelty. But mitzad halacha, there's no problem with cruelty. Doesn't carry weight when it comes to the need of a person. So, going out, again, if you're going to say that you're not killing it, you're wounding it, then we can say there's cruelty. But killing it, if there's no tar balachayim in killing, l'chayra, there's no cruelty in killing as well. You could argue that this is different. Tar balachayim is a black and white halacha. Cruelty is a midah. When it comes to midah, it's a more vague area. It could be that a midah would be forbidden, even though you're killing it. But if I'm not mistaken, the Noda B'Yehuda is the one that says it's not a problem for killing it. Our obvious reason is bitul Torah. It's forbidden to waste time in Torah. The Eibusha tells us in the Torah, "V'yisa b'yom v'layla." You didn't have to learn Torah by day and by night. You can never waste time, and therefore hunting is forbidden mitzad that. But that obviously people say, well, I do other things and I waste time. So, what do two averis? So a person can say, well, if I do it as a trip for yeshiva makes a whole mitzvah, and then we'll go hunting, and it's already encouraging learning Torah, then it could be permitted. So that's a svara that maybe you can argue, but this is definitely brought down. The Pachad Yitzchak brings down and he says that bittul Torah is a reason why you can't do it. The Noda B'Yehuda himself says it's usher, even though he said it's permitted, but he says at the end it's usher for a different reason. He says because you're putting yourself in danger. Misakin atzma, you're putting yourself in danger. And this is the reason why I think the Noda B'Yehuda is talking about hunting bears. Now, this video is a clip of a deer getting back at the hunter. This is a very, very rare. This almost never happens in the wild. The deer see the people, they run away, they never come back to fight against the person. This is a real video, as far as I understand, but it's very rare. So if you're hunting against bears or lions, that's an issue, because the lion and the bear are not going to just back down. They will, especially if it's a mother bear with her cubs, then you're in real danger. But if it's for deer or gazelle, these kind of stuff in these areas, or the birds that people hunt, the chayre, this doesn't apply. The Noda B'Yehuda brings over there, and he says, he says a person is, in general, cannot put himself in the danger. He can't play with knives. Yeah, certain bachman have to know these halachas is very important. Putting lines around, putting them inside different places where someone cannot notice it and hurt himself. V'chein osur le'odom laver tachas kir notoi, to walk by a wall that is in danger of falling. Or al gesher le'ua, or on a bridge that's shaky. Or the konis lechurba, to a house that's about to collapse. V'chein kol kayitza beilu mishara sakonis osur laver b'mkeimer. So the Noda B'Yehuda basically says there's a danger with hunting. So like I said, I think that if you take the Noda B'Yehuda for whatever he said till now, that Bal Tashchis and Knar Bel Chaim, all those things are also not a problem. To say that today there's an actual danger in hunting, I think it's a bit of a stretch. Even though could be a danger, but if you're hunting deer, most places today there's a lot of safety measures. You wear those orange coats and you have those special those booths that they have, that they stand over there and you take sure you have all the spray against the ticks, whatever. I don't think this is a concern today. In the past, when you're, like I said, hunting bears, hunting lions, wolves, that could be an issue. So the based on all of the above, it would be general permitted. The last thing that we didn't talk about is Dvarim Shenoago Bev Isur. This is also what the Bachad Yitzchak says, that it's a problem because most Yidden don't go hunting, and therefore it's something which Yidden don't do. So the Noda B'Yehuda says that makes no sense. Only something that people do all that a shchiach, that everyone has the opportunity to do so, and they don't do it, then we say Yidden are purposely not going hunting. But over here, it's something that davar delay shchiach, so you can't say Yidden are purposely not going hunting. The opportunity never came up, and that's why they didn't go hunting. So the bottom line is, there's 10 potential reasons, and for each one of those reasons, there's a svara from some place that it's asur, but the Noda B'Yehuda is the main opinion that seems to be saying it's all mutter. The reason why he says it's asur is because the reason why it's only because of Mesak and Atzmai, so there's more reason to be made. At the same time, if you ask a regular Rav, I do not know what they'll pass in halacha, as we keep saying over and over again. These shiurim are only for entertainment purposes, so practically speaking, instead of Adkan, he will just tell you to go fishing.